When you're a kid, you're irrationally afraid of things. It's just human nature thanks to our overactive imaginations and our impressionable young minds. Now you can also blame popular tropes in the media that we ingested. I mean really, I can't be the only one that thought being on fire and stepping into quicksand were going to be a much bigger part of my life, considering how much I was taught to stop, drop, and roll, and how often characters wandered into the stuff in cartoons. Of course, if there were things to be irrationally afraid of, it was things in video games. Sure, there were games that were intentionally designed to make us crap our pants, but I actually didn't play a lot of those when I was younger. Though that didn't stop me from finding things in other games I played to be scared witless of. Everybody's scared of stupid stuff, especially when they're little, so these are my top 5 things in video games that scared me when I was little, which may or may not actually be scary to most people. Feel free to laugh at my 7-year-old self for being scared of these things. Is that gonna make you happy? You gonna feel big about yourself? Tough guy? Huh? 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 Also, this was originally planned to be a Halloween video, but this is middle of November now, so whatever. Yeah, I already know what you're thinking. As soon as you heard that theme, your mind went to this, right? Well, joke's on you, the demon piano didn't scare me as a kid. And it's not because I was some sort of badass, in fact I was a total wimp, as evidenced in this video. No, the piano didn't scare me because it got spoiled before I ever got the chance to play the game. And that's not to say that Big Boo's haunt didn't still give me the chills. I mean, when Big Boo first appeared in that hallway, I put off going anywhere near it for like a week because it freaked me out so much. Regardless, that wasn't the thing that scared me the most in Super Mario 64. It was a little place called Tiny Huge Island. The gimmick in this particular world is that Mario ends up doing his best Ant-Man impression and can either become a teeny tiny little plumber and be on the receiving end of fighting harder bad guys, or become a giant Italian colossus that can steamroll everything with ease. Completing the challenges in this stage often require you to alternate between being teeny and huge as you seek out stars and overcome obstacles that are more lethal depending on your size, with one in particular only appearing when you're small. When you're tiny on Tiny Huge Island, a unique enemy spawns in the single pool of water on the stage, a huge fish called a boss bass, or a Bubba Cheep as it used to be called. I'm not really sure which one it is now. The fish has one purpose and one purpose only: to eat you whole and kill you in one hit. I can't remember how it happened, but the first time I got eaten by this fish as a kid, I became terrified of going into the water on this stage anymore. I was so scared that this big, sunglasses-wearing fish would open its mouth and devour Mario whole, and I would go out of my way to find other ways around the island, including starting huge and getting to the top before working my way back down as Tiny Mario. In reality, the boss bass is hardly even a threat. Yeah, he can kill you in one hit, and that's fairly intimidating, but he moves so slow and is such a predictable attack that you have to seriously not be paying attention to actually get eaten by him. Still, this type of thing really freaked me out as a kid, and I can't really say why specifically, but it was a trope in general that spooked me. Might be that it killed you in one hit, or maybe it was that weird, tired, and defeated sound that Mario makes when he dies in this game. He just kinda gives up. Jurassic Park is a visual cinematic masterpiece by Steven Spielberg with an unforgettable score by John Williams. It is a film that will forever be remembered by all and was a defining moment in film history. So naturally, you got a crappy game on the Sega Genesis. Jurassic Park for the Sega Genesis is another one of those games that can be chalked up to, I enjoyed this a lot as a kid, but I'm now starting to see that it has some serious flaws playing as an adult type of game. The game actually had a pretty cool concept to it though. You could play through it in one of two ways. Either you could play as a velociraptor, the perfect predator that rampages across the island in pursuit of its next meal, with its only weakness being crappy platforming. Or you could play as Alan Grant, the protagonist of the film, as he tries to escape the island using his wits, gear, and crappy platforming skills, which allow him to die in a multitude of creative ways. I don't think I'd classify Jurassic Park as a horror film to begin with, although it definitely dips into that at several points of the plot. Regardless, I was never scared of the movie itself. I actually remember being super into dinosaurs when I was a little kid, like most people were, and when my dad brought home Jurassic Park on the VHS, he sat down to watch it with me and looked at me and said, "You're not gonna like dinosaurs after this movie." Boy, howdy was he wrong. I was rooting for the dinos the whole way through. I was actually a little upset they didn't eat the annoying kids in the kitchen scene, but they made up for it when the T-Rex, my favorite dino, burst in like the goddamn queen of the earth that it was. Still, there was one scene in the video game that really messed with me. In the second stage of Grant's scenario, you have to make your way through a power plant, avoiding raptors, performing some annoying climbing with the finicky Sega Genesis directional pad, and trying to find an escape route. After some hilarious electricity effects, you'll eventually approach the end of the stage and hear a noise that the film viewers will be very familiar with. Oh no, that isn't your heartbeat. That's the sound of the goddamn Queen of the Earth making her way towards you. That's the T-Rex. The T-Rex bursts through the wall and blocks your path, and unlike other dinosaurs, you can't knock her out. If you get too close to her, you'll just die automatically in a humiliating and hilarious fashion. Thankfully, getting past her is really easy. You can just chuck a flash grenade, stroll on by while she's blind. What makes this scary though is just the build-up. The T-Rex pops up several more times throughout the game, even in the next stage, but she only announces her approach like this once. This scene was terrifying and perfectly replicated the fear and dread that the characters experienced when they heard the footsteps of the T-Rex in the movie. I straight up had to turn off the sound at this part. Yeesh! After that last entry, you're probably very confused at what you're seeing right now, but no, I didn't make a mistake. There was something in Sonic Adventure 2 of all places that scared the crap out of me as a kid, and it wasn't Eggman's crippling scoliosis. Early on in the villain's campaign of Sonic Adventure 2, you play as Bruges the Bat, as she's trying to break into Dr. Eggman's pyramid base so she can figure out what the bad doctor's up to and how she can get in on it. This leads the player to the stage Egg Quarters, where a treasure hunting stage where Rouge must find 3 hidden keys in order to unlock a door into Eggman's hidden sanctum. Really simple premise and nothing to write home about, but the gimmick for this particular stage is one that filled me with all sorts of anxiety. In this particular stage, there's a guard robot patrolling the halls of the Egg Quarters called the Egg Beetle, because while Dr. Eggman is an evil genius, he is also an evil narcissist, hence why his plans have gone from world domination to I just want to build a huge theme park with my face on it. The Egg Beetle isn't that scary looking, I mean it's just a bug robot with a big glowing eye. No, what freaked me out about this thing was the little description that Amachow gives you at the beginning of the stage.
Beware of the beetle robot. Take cover in the shadows, or else it will shoot a laser at you.
You can avoid getting blasted by the Egg Beetle by just hiding in the shadows, because even though this thing has a giant flashlight for a face, he apparently can't see things when it's a certain time of day. Even if he does see you, you'll just get a few seconds before he actually launches the attack, so you can get into a hiding spot and make him go away. And this is also the only way to deal with the Egg Beetle. The thing's invincible to all forms of attack, so you just gotta get out of the way. With that said, the Egg Beetle's a pretty easy enemy to avoid, but the uncertainty of just what its an unavoidable attack was put me on edge every time I went up against it, because I had no idea what it meant. To quote Hitchcock, there is no terror in the bang, only the anticipation of it. Knowing that something might jump out and completely mess you up is often way scarier than whatever that hidden thing actually is. The Egg Beetle itself is not scary, but just not knowing what was going to happen with its unavoidable attack was enough to freak me out. Eventually I did get caught and take the hit, at which point the dread I had for the stage evaporated almost instantly. The Gorons from Ocarina of Time. I don't want to talk about it. Alright, for this last one, I want to play a little game with you guys. I want you to do the following. Pause the video, go down below, and write a comment on what kind of game you think this is. It's called Echo the Dolphin, it stars a dolphin, that's all you're getting right now. Well, look, I know that live commenting on YouTube videos is pretty stupid, but it's okay this time because I'm asking you to do it. Just take a second, write down what you think this game is and what it's about, and then when we're done, you can go back and see if you're right or wrong. If you already know what this game is, then obviously you don't get to play. But everyone else, just humor me here. Are you done? You got it? Okay, pencils down. Echo the Dolphin is a horror game for the Sega Genesis, and nobody can convince me that it is otherwise. I do not even remember how I came into possession of this game as a child, whether it be because my older brother decided to get it, or maybe my parents saw it on a shelf and thought it looked pretty innocent. But no, this game is freaky as all hell, and to this day, just thinking about it gives me the creeps. The game follows the story of a character named Echo, the dolphin. Echo starts off just dandy, hanging out with his family and swimming around without a care in the world. You take a moment in the first stage to learn the basic controls of swimming, dashing, and using your sonar ability, and how to leap out of the water like you're on display at SeaWorld. You're encouraged to try and jump as high as possible out of the water to test your skills, and once you do, this happens. This is what happens in this video game about dolphins. Isn't it just fun? As the music becomes more ominous and Echo swims back around, he realizes that he is now completely alone. His family, his food, his ecosystem, everything's been sucked up into the sky by something. And now you have to go on a journey to figure out how to get them back. This opening level alone was terrifying to me as a child because I had no idea that it was going to happen, nor did I have any clue as to what just happened. It was one of the biggest bait and switch openings that I've ever experienced in a game. One second I'm having a great time playing as a dolphin, swimming around, jumping through the air, and next second I feel scared, confused, and alone with nothing but uncertainty in my dolphin brain. You might think that this initial jump scare is all you're going to get, but you'd be wrong. The game continuously throws unnerving enemies and mechanics at you, all set to a foreboding and intense soundtrack. The third level has you swimming through an underground channel of caves while avoiding enemies and at one point having to find your way past a really freaky looking octopus. And since Echo's a dolphin, as in a mammal, he can't breathe underwater, so you have to also try not to drown by searching for air pockets. The concept of drowning alone is probably one of the most unnerving mechanics ever created for video games. At the very least, Echo doesn't do like Sonic by adding in a frantic soundtrack when you're running out of air, but then again, it didn't really need it. You continue to battle your way through underwater enemies throughout the game, but it's never really anything unrealistic, which somehow makes it even more unsettling. The monsters that you're fighting are just other marine life. But then again, if you ever saw a book on ocean species, it might make more sense considering how freaky crap is in the deep. Regardless, the plot goes straight into high-octane nightmare fuel towards the end of the game when you discover just what it was exactly that kidnapped your family. Spoilers from here on out to give a crap about this 20-year-old Sega Genesis game, I guess. So when you were writing your comment earlier, I gotta ask, did any of you happen to guess that this game was about a dolphin fighting goddamn H.R. Giger aliens? Because if you did, quite frankly, I think you cheated. The last few levels of the game have you confront the Vortex, a group of malevolent aliens that are kidnapping marine life for harvesting purposes. You have to fight them to get your family back. You swim through their spaceship and fight them by blowing them apart at the seams. And then the final boss is just a giant alien head you beat by crushing its eyes and then breaking its jaw, all while it tries to eat you. What? Needless to say, this game was not what I, or probably what anyone expected to be when they were a kid. And I never beat it as a child, partly because it freaked me out so much. I was too scared to even play it by myself half the time. I'd have one of my siblings with me whenever I did even play the first level, because the opening sequence where everything got sucked out of the ocean scared me so much. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Sorry that it didn't come out on Halloween like I had wanted. If there's anything that freaked you out in old games you had as a kid, you should write a comment about it. Everybody's got trauma and it helps to get these things out. But for real, go see a therapist.
As individual creatures, their wide mouth, though filled with a formidable array of teeth,
What the
seems
f*** is
to be
happening?
smiling. A blowhole at the top of their body lets them breathe.
Harold, I'm
with
playing
only
Echo the
slightest
Dolphin,
break
and
through
there's
the
this,
water's
there's like
surface.
unedited like
This aquatic
dolphin
nose,
documentary
which moved
footage
to the
in
top
it.
of their body during evolution.
It's just
closes
going.
tightly during dives to lock out water. No,
I'm not really listening.
they have
but-
almost no sense of smell, but very good eyesight. Better than humans. Although they can only see for a short distance underwater, their eyes gaze intelligently, with a friendly, curious, and often humorous expression. When you look at dolphins, they look back.
That was ominous. When you look at the dolphins, they look back.
Yeah, well, this game is weird.
Weird.
Yeah.
But it looks really pretty.
Oh god.
Are you ready to learn more about dolphins?
This is actually the Sega Saturn version.
Surround and kill baby orcas.
Bottlenose
God damn it.
dolphins are tiny animals that grow to